What were you making a day? What was the going rate a day there at Blackwater, Surge, Iraq? $1,000 a day? Were you making that?
Actually, it was $500 a day, but it could be up to $3,000 a day, depending on the holiday season of the need for guys to stay in country and not just bounce.
What was your schedule like? 30 on, 30 off? What was those? What those deployments look like throughout the year?
My first contract was 6 on, 1 off.
Okay.
And then, but I stayed. I just kept staying and extending, I was like, dude, this is too good. So like I always say, sometimes they're paying you too much. Sometimes they're paying you way too much to, party at Saddam Hussein's palace, play on your little Nokia phone, the Snake game and just chill with the girls and drink. Sometimes, they can't pay you $1 million if you can't spend it the next day.
That's right.
Because you're dead.
Isn't that the truth? So what was it about that? Because it seems like a pretty good life. Like you're making good money. You're where you want to be at. Yet you'd have to correct me if I'm wrong, but it wasn't enough because something made you rejoin and go to the SEALs.
Right. Well, I checked the freaking box in Blackwater for combat. I didn't have to prove myself to, and what I mean by prove myself, proving yourself doesn't necessarily have to be to other people. Proving yourself to me was like, no, do I have what it takes to step in the octagon and go all rounds and become a champion? And for me, that championship looked like, okay, am I a coward or do I really have what it takes in battle to stick it out? And I shined in that area in combat. So that made me feel like I had a superpower over all the smart kids. Okay, I may not be the smartest guy, but I'm going to outshine him in balls and in courage and combat. So I had this big card. And so I was real comfortable in war. And then I was dating a girl at the time who really said, Jimmy, you're an intellectual, and she was a real smart girl. And I was like, nah, you got the wrong guy. I'm just a monkey, but she said, no, you need to work on these skills though. So she started teaching me how to write reports and how to write up my own men for medals. And so here I am in charge of a 30-man assault team, not assaulters like assaulters, of course, but assault team is in a quick reaction force in Blackwater, which we called, the QRF or tactical support team, which we were getting down and dirty, man, in the war. But while we were doing that, as we just talked about, it's not enough, right? And you see those little glimpses of hopes. I would see CAG operating in and out. You could see the little blackbirds, and it wasn't SEALs. And because we worked sometimes with the SEALs, with their PSD teams, with can't remember the Brimmer detail and the president at the time, but I would see the CAG operators and they're on the skids going in and out, and I was like, okay, this is badass. Right. Yeah. This is enough you could die and say, okay, I did some cool shit. But then there's that. Yeah. And I want to do more than this. And they even had some elite, like polarized, all these weird different names for guys that were being selected out of Blackwater to go do CIA, OGA stuff. Okay. And I was looking at that, but that didn't sound like my cup of tea. Right. And so I was like, I got to go for that dream to do that type of thing.
For those QRF teams, who would you guys QRF for? Right. The military, other PSD elements. You're QRFing yourselves. Who are you guys QRFing?
QRFing ourselves as the primary duty, but as in everything, the war was new. It was developing all the time, and so we just developed into this 911 ambulance force almost. Within the green zone, we were going around collecting body parts and from the rocket attacks, saving civilians, saving Iraqis, contractors in the green zone at night, washing out the trucks of the blood and the pressure hoses, taking them to the hospital, and then we would get them prepped for the morning, and then we would go on the real missions during the day, and we would. And I think Eric Prince said it the best. He came and talked to us one day. He would visit the man camp every once in a while, and he says, I just had this. He went to this gala, this dinner where the Marine Corps general was and the Army general, and they came and personally thanked, according to Eric Prince, they came and personally thanked him because they said, you guys, your quick reaction forces, part of the Red Cell, are the ones that will go no matter what. We don't have to ask permission. So we were going and saving National Guard teams. I don't remember ever coming and rescuing a Marine team. I don't remember them ever calling them on us, but we would go even if we weren't invited. We would hear of a team, we would hear of a team. We would hear of a team, hey man, we got a flat tire. We would overhear it. We would monitor the radios.
Yeah.
Hey, they got a flat tire. If they're there for more than 5 minutes, let's start strolling over.
That's right.
Because if you're anywhere sitting in Baghdad, Iraq,
they're moving on you
in 04 to 08, for 5 minutes or more, your ass getting shot.
It's just a matter of time. Absolutely. I love that. And I love that story about it, because I don't know if you realized it or not, but I'm sure you've seen this and you probably hate it. The idea of what mercenaries are and what they're doing over, and it's Hollywood. I get it, but people take that Hollywood and they take it too far sometimes. You look at what a mercenary does during war, and it's ridiculous. It always paints them in a bad picture. It always paints them as some cowboy that disregards all the rules and kills civilians at will, and then they'll cover it up. Just horrible things. Everything you just described was amazing things and positive things that our contractors were doing over there.
Yeah, and what's crazy, Brent, is these guys literally were in the Army, Rangers, in the Marines, like days before Blackwater. And then they basically took off the uniform, transferred to the same weapons, same kit, and now we're just compiled on these teams called Raven or Templar Knights, whatever you want to call it.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's not like they recruited criminals that were were fresh out of jail. And like, hey, you want to come do criminal stuff over here? You recruited people, and you had to have a good record when you had to have, of course, a good discharge when you got out.
You had to have psychological examination, honorable discharge.
Right. So it's not like they were good Rangers when they were in, but then they just turned into bad guys.
And
went rogue.
People watch way too much Netflix.
Yeah. So that's I'm really glad you shared those stories, because I just wanted to dispel those rumors, because I'm not saying every American is good. But let me tell you, America as a whole and its populace as a whole, and our military and everything that connects to our military, including contractors who are former military, when they went overseas, 99.999% of them were good people and acted accordingly, even in war. And there was when I was team leader, and I even caught a guy once. He was talking about, he was mad about a situation. So he's like, I'm going to go smoke those motherfuckers. He said that. I said, hey, you're window or aisle, we said. Like window or aisle. You get a plane ticket tomorrow and you're window or aisle. Like if I hear anything else like that in this team, you're getting kicked out. Yeah. So when we were accused of that later on, it triggers you, because you're like, that wasn't me, man. I wasn't there to kill civilians. I wasn't this rogue guy. I literally would have done it for free, Brent. Yeah. And
at one point,
even with that story, someone might go, aha, look, like there was someone there that just wanted to do it. But two things I just want to point out to everyone that just heard that story. One, that's an emotional reaction.
Yep.
And that is understandable.
Yep.
It is very different between your initial emotional reaction of having to bury a dead teammate, or hearing over the radio all these Americans that got ambushed and killed, and you weren't able to do something about it, and feeling like you should have, and someone's going to have to pay the price. That's an emotional reaction, completely okay.
Yeah.
But that's the response to emotional reaction, where someone with a level head goes, hold on, let's look at the bigger picture here. And that's what happened.
And that's the difference I saw in a lot of guys, Brent. You had the guys that were there, their buddy gets killed, and they go, I'm going to get these motherfuckers. And then you have that, then you drink a little bit, you have some cigarettes, and you're like, okay. Yeah. The next day, you're like, okay, I'm not going to go gun blazons on the local football team in Iraq.
Right.
But I'm going to take it to the enemy.
That's right.
right?
Yeah.
And so you did see a lot of that, those emotions come up, some tears and stuff, man, out there. When a fellow warrior dies, and you see that, and you're covered in his blood, and you have to visit him his buddies in the hospital, whoever's in your team in the hospital, which we did a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of my time in Blackwater was going back and forth to the Baghdad hospital, visiting guys that were destroyed. And so you get anger. But for me, man, I always looked at it as a very even fight, as far as like, I'm in his backyard. I would do the same thing if you were in my backyard. We would be making improvised explosives if we didn't have a lot of the military capabilities, and they were in our country. Americans would do some effed up stuff to defend. Can you imagine?
That's right, and you're absolutely right. And I had the same. I had the same view.
Very, like, it was either me or him.
That's right.
No anger.
Yeah. So when you leave, and it's with one goal in mind, to go to the SEALs. You didn't leave to figure out life. Or was there a little bit of that in between that and SEAL teams?
There was a reason. Well, there unfortunately in my life, and I really believe that God does this to me, and because I'm so damn stubborn, I will stay somewhere until I like go bankrupt, until I die, until I go to prison. I have to be forced out of situations. Blackwater, and I think we have a clip later on we're going to show, but there's there's our helicopters were getting shot down like every week. We had a Huey go down with one of our awesome Blackwater pilots. My buddy was in there. It got rolled up. I was injured by a grenade. I sent a part of our element, our quick reaction force, immediately there, thinking they're going to die.
Yeah.
They come back from that, and then the next day is the infamous Baghdad's Bloody Sunday, Nisar Square, which I'm the team leader of, which I find myself having to make a call that would change the lives of many people, including myself, including imprisonment of others until Trump pardoned them, because the DOJ vehemently went after him. So that event with the shrapnel in my leg, they said, Jimmy, you got to go home.